Glenn, it's a lot what's going on. Can we talk about that for a minute? I can't help but bring up my dad being a Nuremberg prosecutor at times like this, that these are war crimes that we're seeing every day, right? I mean, it's clearly civilian targets. It's clearly attacking a nuclear power plant. That is an interesting thing about whether we're going to get sucked into World War III, whether we want to or not, if they do hit another plant and radiation spreads through all of Europe. I mean, what is your take on what's happening?
My take is the world needs to rise up and deal with Vladimir Putin. And he has only one thing that he can hold over our heads, and that is, his nuclear stockpile. So, the world has a lot of smart military strategic thinkers, and we have to find a way to rise up and not let him bully Ukraine, commit war crimes in Ukraine, exterminate the people of Ukraine, which is precisely what he's doing. He cemented his place in history as a war criminal, and we need to find a way to deal with it on the front end as opposed to waiting to deal with it on the back end like we did with Hitler.
Yeah. Well, you tweeted that. You said Putin has never been held accountable, including for crimes against his own people. And this is where that failure has led, an illegal war of aggression. Trump has never been held accountable, including for crimes against his own people. Let's do the math. I mean, I keep saying it, Glenn. There's not enough media coverage about how this is all one story. Starting with Manafort installing a Putin puppet in Ukraine, through him helping install a Putin puppet here in the United States in 2016, right through the Ukraine impeachment, all of this through January 6th. I mean, this is not the first time Donald Trump has defrauded the people of the United States. Today, saying she has lost hope that the Justice Department is doing anything about this, that there is not an ongoing investigation. Adam Schiff, who we just played, said, they shouldn't be waiting for a referral from us. That's not what he thinks is happening. And Neil Katyal said yesterday, I think this is basically a criminal referral to the Justice Department. It's not formally one. You and I are reading this, but so too is Merrick Garland and all the prosecutors at the Justice Department. I think Neil said, I can understand them waiting for a referral from the January 6th committee. Where are you on this? Help us out of this muck.
Yeah, so I have not lost faith, I have not lost hope, and I have not lost optimism. It's undeniable that it's taken too long. We shouldn't be where we are. Charges should have already been brought against Donald Trump, at a minimum for the crimes he committed years ago. His bribery and extortion of President Zelensky, because let's face it, as you just said, Steph, he is the run-up that allowed this to happen. Putin didn't need to do this when Trump was in office, because Trump gave Putin everything he wanted and then some. But here's where we are. And I respectfully part ways with Jill, who I admire greatly. I have not lost hope that DOJ will prosecute him. But at this moment in time, we are living in an upside down, bizarro government world, because we have three branches of government. Only one of those three branches has the power to prosecute, but the other two are doing things we would expect the third branch to be doing. Think about it. We have enough evidence to argue Donald Trump committed crimes against the United States and against the American people. That's not what Congress does.
Right.
That's what the Department of Justice should be doing. Steph, the other co-equal of branch of government, the judiciary, the judges have been virtually screaming from the rooftops, look, DOJ, we know and appreciate you're prosecuting the people who actually attacked the Capitol, the foot soldiers of Donald Trump's insurrection. But the judges, the federal judges, are saying things like, but they're merely pawns in Donald Trump's game. And in recent weeks, we had a federal court judge say Donald Trump's conduct on January 6th was, quote, the essence, close quote, of a conspiracy. But the judiciary can't prosecute. Only the executive branch through the Department of Justice can prosecute. The other two branches are trying to fill the void. It is time for the Department of Justice to step up. And what the other two branches of government and what the American people know they should be doing, prosecuting Donald Trump.
Glenn, I hear you. And I feel like at this point, I don't care how we get there. I know there are people that say that, these hearings that are going to be televised will create, public awareness and outrage and hopefully pressure the DOJ to move if they have not, in fact, yet, right? And that's fine too. I don't know, again, exactly. I feel like Neil Katyal feels like they should wait for the referral from the Justice Department. Obviously, Adam Schiff says, why? Why would they be waiting for that? But I mean, is this a combination of political and legal? What do you think is happening at DOJ? And do you feel like it's going to take that, the public hearings and the public outcry, and that it's so obvious you have no choice but to move?
Yeah, DOJ was my professional home for nearly a quarter of a century. So I say this knowing DOJ from the inside. There's a culture of timidity that borders on fear of loss, fear of embarrassment, and fear of criticism, which is why they try to button up cases perfectly before they ever bring them. Never is that atmosphere more at play than when you're trying to decide whether to indict, for the first time in our nation's history, a former criminal president. And that's a problem. They should be moving out, recognizing the urgency of the moment and the danger to democracy, but they're not, because they don't have it in their DNA. I disagree that it should await the public hearings, but listen, look where we are. It will await the public hearings, and there will be some real benefit to the American people seeing, the dramatic evidence that the House Select Committee has developed behind closed doors through the testimony of more than 550 witnesses. And DOJ will have nowhere to go at that point but to indict.
Glenn, I don't even understand how we're where we are now, when Merrick Garland has, as you know, in that press conference, gone on record saying we are prosecuting to the highest extents. No one's above the law. How can they be prosecuting already all these foot soldiers and just say, oh, well, that's it. It just goes to here. And obviously it goes up higher than the foot soldiers they're currently prosecuting, right? Stuart Rhodes wasn't improving. Right?
Yeah, they're investigating the command structure of the insurrection. They have to be, because they're investigating and prosecuting the foot soldiers. You can't artificially say, we're not going to pay attention to the evidence of who funded, organized, incited the insurrection. They're investigating it. Here's my fundamental question, though. Merrick Garland keeps telling us we will follow the facts and follow the law wherever they lead. And I appreciate that. That's the way we do business. But I would love for him to answer this question. The facts are in, the law is clear, and Donald Trump committed crimes. We've followed the facts and the law. What are we, the American people, to do now that DOJ is declining to prosecute in a timely manner? Tell us what we're supposed to do.
Well, that's another side of it. You tweeted about, Glenn. You said, let's get it on. We've seen overwhelming evidence that Trump, Eastman, and others were involved in a conspiracy to commit offenses against the United States and obstruct an official proceeding. It's nice to see the House Select Committee say it. In a court filing, indictments must follow. Were you... I don't even know what the word is. Were you surprised, or President Biden didn't mention it in his State of the Union? I get it; he's supposed to be above it and unity and blah blah blah. But the fact that he didn't mention January 6th at all, I was like, wow. What did you take from that?
Yeah, it's such a consequential issue to our country and to the health and viability of our democracy that I was surprised as well. But you know what? I'm going to continue to give Joe Biden wide berth, because look at the way he has galvanized world opinion and world action against Vladimir Putin.
Right, but it's one story. This was the overthrow of our democracy here. That's what I'm saying. You think he could have brought it up in that context.
And Merrick Garland, who stepped to the mic recently, which he rarely does, and said, we're going to fight like heck to, help preserve and protect Ukrainian democracy, which I appreciate. And I don't want to say anything to undercut that. But look, sport, how about you come with the same vim and vigor and talk to us about protecting our democracy?
Thank you. You using the word sport makes me love you even more.
Amazing.
And I didn't think it was possible to love you more.
Yes.
Sport. Champ, listen. You make a good point, though, through line through all of this about transparency. You said New York prosecutors investigating Trump resign. The DA, Alvin Bragg, refuses to release their resignation letters, warning a lack of accountability coupled with a lack of transparency kills public confidence in our institutions. Cut to you saying a lack of transparency in government is corrosive to public confidence in our institutions. Trump, Meadows, and many others transparently committed crimes, yet our government institutions are neither charging them nor explaining why their crimes are going unaddressed. We, the people, deserve better. So that's part of it, is we don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah, government can't have it both ways. They can't expect us to continue to have confidence in our institutions by, one, not charging people who obviously committed crimes, and two, not telling us why they are making what seems to be inexplicable decisions. And I've got a piece coming out on MSNBC Daily this weekend about the New York District Attorney debacle, because there's an extra bit of ugliness when Alvin Bragg says, I'm not going to release the resignation letters of the two top prosecutors who just walked off the Trump case because it would divulge ongoing investigations. I'm sorry, I don't believe that for a minute, because I don't think those two experienced prosecutors dumped a whole bunch of intimate investigative detail into their resignation letters. I think he's declining to release those letters because they make him look bad.
Yes.
That is the lack of transparency part that will kill public confidence in institutions.
And that's what seems like happened there, is they're two highly respected prosecutors that said, we have enough evidence, we're ready to go now to indict Trump. And obviously Alvin Bragg, either out of excess of caution, dotting, I's, crossing T's, or that he just doesn't have the spine, something to do, to do it. I mean, what do you think? Because he's like, oh, no, it's ongoing, and I've appointed a new prosecutor. But what do you think is actually happening?
Yeah, and he appointed a new prosecutor who has been defending fraud defendants for 20 years. So as somebody who is a white-collar criminal defense attorney for the past 20 years, the person who's perfectly suited to come in and be a prosecutor of the most consequential prosecution New York has seen in decades. But something stinks here. And the fact that he is burying information that might release that smell is just an added problem.
Yeah.